This was the advice the government gave American women in a wartime propaganda film called To the Ladies.
This is Middleton, USA. Just an average American city like thousands of others. Some of the girls are down at the pool. Some are having their afternoon soda at Doc's drugstore. Others are catching the matinee. Yes, life is pleasant in Middleton, and its women are pretty proud of their city. This is Middleton when the women of England and the women of Russia are fighting our enemy with every ounce of blood and muscle in their bodies. When the women of Italy have lost the strength to fight. This is Middleton, USA, in the throes of total war. For as the women of Middleton perform their little household tasks, their sons and their brothers, their schoolmates and their friends prepare themselves for their job, a job of killing and being killed.
No effort was spared to get those ladies out of their homes and into overalls, and they responded. In the war plants, for the first time, some black women got work that paid well, and some black and white women even worked side by side. The number of women in the workforce rose from 12.5 million by 1940 to 18.5 million in 1945. This wartime newsreel celebrated them.
In hundreds of United States shipyards, husky women do the same jobs as men. Tough, rugged work that they toss off like veterans.
A grateful country nicknamed her Rosie the Riveter, and the government praised her in a propaganda film called Women of Steel.
The women of America rallied to the support of their men. And here, in this almost the last great industry we thought could be handled only by men, these mothers, wives, and sweethearts came to stand shoulder to shoulder with them in almost every capacity. Here's Mrs. Barconi from Hungary, a great-grandmother. And the work isn't too hard for you?
No, I used to work in a butcher's shop. I like this better. It's more excitement.
It is that, all right.
Isn't this a funny place for you?
Now it helps win the war.
But after clerking in a fashionable store...
I like it here, and it saves my clothes.
Yes, I suppose it would.
Did you ever try pleasing a bunch of women shoppers all day?
No, I never did.
Well, here I just have to please the boss, and he's a man.
All America salutes its women of steel.
But the GI returning from the war in 1945 had a very different vision of the girl he wanted to come home to. No overalls, no welder's mask. Power was definitely not the source of her glamour. The soldier also wanted his old job back. So the government made films advising Rosie the Riveter to ignore her skills, doubt her strength, and go back to being somebody's baby.
My wife works, people think I can't support her.
Oh, I don't mind my wife working, but who's going to run my home?
Many women stayed on in the job market after the war, but the newsreels in the movie theaters warned they were making a big mistake.
Since 1930, one U.S. woman in every 4 has been earning her own living. Today, the woman with a position in business equal to a successful man's is economically able to terminate her marriage if she is so minded, since she is her own breadwinner. But are such women really better off?
To prove that they were not, one newsreel produced a career woman, Dr. Marania Farnham, to put down careers for women. Her bestseller, Modern Woman, The Lost Sex, invoked Freud to prove that independent women were unnatural, even slightly sick.
Abandoning their feminine role has made women unhappy because it has made them frustrated. It has made children unhappy because they do not have maternal love. And it has made their husbands unhappy because they do not have real women as partners. Instead, their wives have become their rivals.
One way to deflate the powerful wartime woman was to make her feel bad about her appearance. An explosion of advice on love and loveliness sent American women on a frantic search for a new look and a better body. And the new scientific advisor was her beautician.
Skin, crepey. Hair, faded. Scalp, dry. Look, madam, you came in looking like this. I want you going out, look like this.
Her reality was reshaped completely in the 50s. The bumps were all smoothed out. The truth was concealed. Not since the turn of the century had there been such a vast difference between the real woman and the doll she was now advised to be.
I'm gonna buy
was supposed to have fun in the 50s. Men had to worry about the bills and the bomb and the Cold War with Russia. But the girl in the beauty contest was supposed to smile and move with great care. She was built to please, and the Barbie doll was the ideal woman. For a man, the only dream going was success. For a woman, the only success was marriage. And in 1950, Liz Taylor was the most beautiful bride of all. By 1951, 1 out of every 3 American women was married, like Liz, at 19. 2/3 of the growth of the American population was occurring in the suburbs, where the government was helping GIs build their dream houses. His dream house was her dollhouse. The Mrs. America contest demonstrated the skills she needed to live there and how many major appliances he had to buy her to make them both happy. With all these new household toys at her fingertips, she now had no excuse not to be the perfect and perfectly happy homemaker. The new source of advice was television, which produced America's favorite housewife, Lucille Ball.
How do you like it? It's darling.
Lucy showed that a wife's role was to inspire generosity, any way she could.
Oh,
It's a good present, and I always tell Ricky it's our anniversary.
You know, I actually ordered all these things for your anniversary last week, but the store forgot to send them. Happy anniversary, Lucy.
happy anniversary, darling.
With the Cold War getting hotter, fashion tried to recall the safe old days. Crinolines came back for the first time since 1910. One advisor who spoke to women as adults was the famous baby doctor, Benjamin Spock. He later regretted saying that only women could take care of children. But in the 50s, when everyone thought housewives just had fun, at least Dr. Spock understood how much they had to cope with. She was advised by newsreels that in marriage, as in fashion, the old style was the safest.
The family was solidly founded on the father as patriarch and breadwinner, and on the mother as cook, housekeeper, and nurse of the children. Whether marriages were happy or not, people made the best of them, for divorce was almost unthinkable.
The unthinkable could only happen to a bad wife, one who neglected his career.
Hello, darling.
For heaven's sake, Doris, are you just starting to get dinner? Don't you realize we've got the boss coming at 7:30? It's after 7 now.
I just got in. I was looking at Mabel's new clothes. Everything she's got has the new look.
But, darling, we've got to make an impression on Mr. Lockwood. You should have been working on this dinner all afternoon.
What's this? You bought a deep
The worst
freeze.
wife abused her husband's generosity and turned into a greedy monster with an extra flick of the almighty dollar.
We can't afford a freezer. Oh, no. That would make my housework too easy. But you can afford to sit around that club of yours all week and buy drinks for your cronies.
I sell insurance. That's good business.
Well, a deep freeze is good business for me.
Seeking a sympathetic audience, the aggrieved partner pours out his woes to any who will listen.
Divorces rose by 15% between 1958 and 59, and so did sales of major appliances. Clearly, a house full of toys was not enough.
Well, for one thing, you'll be leaving the children alone too often.
Doris Day and James Garner demonstrated that a woman who wanted more had to open the door of the dollhouse very gently.
Why is Daddy yelling at Mommy? Because Mommy wants to be a TV star and Daddy doesn't want her to be. Oh, that's mean.
Oh, I've got you now, dear. I've got you now right here, and I quote, "In some cases, household duties, important as they are not sufficient to gratify a woman's desire for expression. Mrs. America might do well to start early in her marriage, a planned cultivation of outside interests and hobbies."
Ridiculous.
Ah, you wrote it, darling.
I know I did, but it doesn't pertain to you.
Oh, it doesn't?
Certainly not. You have the PTA, and you make your own ketchup?
The PTA and home-bottled ketchup, that is it. And it's not very fulfilling.
Oh, well, I didn't realize your life lacked fulfillment. You've always shouted how being a doctor's wife was career enough.
Oh, it is. Darling, I didn't mean to sound as if I'm unhappy. I'm very happy, and you know that. You know that I would never consciously go out looking for a job, don't you? But to have something like this just land in my lap. Honey, it's only once a week. And I won't let anything interfere with my wifely duties, I promise.
Shot down by my own artillery.
The rebel of the time was the woman who grew up and spoke up. In 1950, Helen Gahagan Douglas ran for the Senate in California against Richard Nixon. Pipsqueaks like Nixon and McCarthy are trying to get us so frightened of communism, she said, that soon we'll be afraid to turn out the lights at night. Nixon accused Douglas of being pink right down to her underwear, and he won the election. America's favorite girl was Marilyn Monroe. She was our super doll. A new vamp without the old sting. The whole country had fun with Marilyn, and she looked like she was having fun too. She died of an overdose of barbiturates when she was 36. Called things what they were in the 50s. It was an age of euphemism. Never mind that girls went crazy for Elvis Presley's wild gyrations. Ed Sullivan only televised them from the waist up. Korea wasn't a war, it was a police action. Women didn't go to the toilet, they went to the little girls' room. And little girls didn't think about sex. In 1960, doctors found a foolproof way to prevent pregnancy, the birth control pill. The pill was its own advice. It said, now you can get everything you want. The pill led to the mystique of the single girl, the most independent woman since Rosie the Riveter. She got advice from Cosmopolitan magazine on the pill, on men, and on orgasm. But this single girl never slept with her boyfriend. As that girl, Marlo Thomas was the first TV heroine to work for a living and live alone.
Hello? Oh, hi, Harvey. Yeah, I went over for the fitting this morning. Boy, is that a dumb costume. But I don't care. That $50 is going to help pay the rent on my own apartment.
If a woman wanted to shed her cares in the 60s, she could become a flower child. If a woman wanted to show that she cared in the 60s, she could join the Peace Corps, a creation of the administration of John Kennedy. Such idealism went side by side with a new ideal of style, Jackie. convenience foods made cooking simple. But this model cook rarely made anything that was simple.
Nothing like butter. Now, you can do noodles.
Julia Child was the first woman in public memory to be called a chef. When she messed up right there on the TV screen, the woman who was watching suddenly had permission not to be the perfect homemaker.
When you flip anything, you just have to have the courage of your convictions, particularly if it's sort of a loose mass like this. Well, that didn't go very well. See, when I flipped it, I didn't have the courage to do it the way I should have. But you can always pick it up, and if you're alone in the kitchen, who is going to see?
Every night on the TV news, a woman saw other people with the courage of their convictions. Some men in the civil rights movement belittled the role of women, but it was hard to believe them when Fannie Lou Hamer was emerging as a leader.
You see, we are human beings, and we are not stopping now till we get something that's better. We worked all these years for nothing. Women have gone to the field and worked from 10 to 12 hours for $3 a day. Those things are wrong, and we mean to right them by standing up, because from the 17th chapter of Acts and the 26th verse said, has made of one blood all nations. So it's no different. It's just the color of our skin.
It could also be seen on TV that women as safe and white as Mary Parkman Peabody, mother of the governor of Massachusetts, had left their homes to take a stand among the people in the streets.
You're going to spend another night in jail?
No, they don't invite me to stay anymore.
You're released on bond then, is that correct?
I expect to be this afternoon.
Are you sad with the way these events have turned out?
Well, naturally, I'd rather have us win the case than lose it.
No woman could remain a televised war in history, and the way it was dividing her country. Jane Fonda was loved for opposing the war and hated for it.
I used to be Barbarella. About 5 years ago, I had a lot of blonde hair and I wore falsies and false eyelashes, and I was a movie star. And as far as I knew, the only thing women could do was change sheets or something like that.
Some of the marchers were old hands at protest. When she was in Congress, Jeanette Rankin had voted against entry into World War I and World War II. She had not changed her stand.
There's no reason why old ladies should be denied the right to go into the Capitol.
That's
and
right.
Have policemen on every corner to see that we don't hurt you.
This Mother's Day will commence a mighty women's movement, a movement in every state of this country, in which the women of this country will organize their political power.
Many men in the peace movement belittled the role of women, but it was hard to believe them when you heard Bella Abzug calling for an end to the war and a new beginning.
The beginning of a way to build a society for our sons and for everybody else's sons and for people here and across this country.
The images from television made women who stayed home think about their own lives. With all the fast foods and gadgetry, she still worked 55 hours a week, 3 hours longer than the housewife of the 20s. And then, as now, it was the same thing. Nobody thought she was working. There was a problem. Betty Friedan's best-selling book, The Feminine Mystique, called it the problem that has no name. The doctor gave her tranquilizers. But her tranquility was shattered. Jackie Kennedy had become a widow by assassination. Coretta King had become a widow by assassination. Ethel Kennedy had become a widow by assassination. 2 young people died in the demonstrations at Jackson State.
Something's wrong somewhere. Something has to be changed. There's got to be a change. There's got to be. I can't allow my child to grow up in a society like this. Somebody's sick, and we got to find out what it is and change it.
In the 70s, that sense of powerlessness gave way to a new sense of strength in numbers.
Women got rid of their old advisors, and for the first time, the new ones were mostly women, like Gloria Steinem.
We have no desire at all to take over the male role. This revolution, and it is a revolution, not a reform, is about humanizing both roles, not exchanging them.
Some of the new advisors were women of achievement. It wasn't only what they said, but what they did that expanded every woman's belief in her own possibilities.
Janet Guthrie was the first woman to race at the Indy 500.
In the tennis battle of the sexes, Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs.
A woman won the Nobel Prize for Medicine, Rosalind Yallow.
A woman ran for president, Shirley Chisholm.
Attorney Sarah Weddington won a milestone abortion case before the Supreme Court.
One by one, the achievements added up and influenced what Americans thought a woman could be. She could be a playwright like Ntozake Shange.
A Supreme Court justice like Sandra Day O'Connor.
Or a pint-sized slugger in the Little League. At the first National Women's Conference in Houston, 15,000 delegates from every state and every style of life were joined by 3 first ladies who greeted Barbara Jordan, one of the decade's new advisors.
We know that beauty and brains are not mutually exclusive. We know that we can be as competent in the boardroom as the bedroom. We know that.
In the fields of California, the farm workers took one of their own to be their chief negotiator, Dolores Huerta.
In Hollywood, Sherry Lansing took charge as president at 20th Century Fox.
Soprano Beverly Sills stepped up from the stage of the New York City Opera and ran the whole show.
And in Norma Ray, which was based on a real woman's achievements, Sally Field stepped up on a table and organized the union.
The advice of the 70s was face the truth, and women grew up on it.
Humorist Irma Bombeck told the truth about housework.
I have a daughter who is 26 and has just shown some curiosity on how to turn on a stove.
On TV, Gene Stapleton played Edith Bunker facing a rapist. That helped erase the myth that rape only happens to women who ask for it.
When Betty Ford spoke openly of her mastectomy, millions went for breast cancer exams and lives were saved.
But telling the truth was sometimes dangerous. When Martha Mitchell spoke up about Watergate, she was laughed at and left alone.
TV's Mary Tyler Moore celebrated the truth that staying single was a legitimate way for a woman to live.
Well, let's see. How do you open up a subject like this? You want to get married?
Boy, that really opens it right up, doesn't it?
Well?
Dad, Dan, I know what I'm going to say may sound a little, you know, negative, but, no.
Sometimes people didn't agree on what the truth was. Phyllis Schlafly mobilized opposition to equality for women. Anybody's baby.